Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our assembly this week. This week, we're going to be focusing on the Swansea Blitz. Now, this is because next week, on the 19th of February, it'll be the 80th anniversary. So 80 years since the three-night Blitz that saw a lot of Swansea city centre completely destroyed by the German Air Force, the German Luftwaffe. Some areas that you probably would recognise yourself. We're going to look in this assembly at the areas that are affected, and we're also going to look at how the people dealt with the bombings in their aftermath, the resilience that people had to show in order to help move on and to help rebuild their lives again. So, on the 3rd of September 1939, Neville Chamberlain gave this speech to the people of Britain, and he announced that we were once again at war with Germany. This caused devastation throughout the land. Now, this is because the First World War had only ended in 1918, 21 years earlier, and the horrors and the terror and the awful things that had happened in the First World War were still very fresh in the minds of a lot of people. Nevertheless, the British people threw themselves into the war effort. Husbands, sons, brothers, uncles went off to fight, as well as some men being drafted into reserved occupations like coal mining. Women were pushed back into the munitions factories. They went into the land army. Some of them went into the auxiliary corps. Children in the big city centres were evacuated from their homes. Pontedilais was actually a big evacuation centre. Lots of evacuees came here from Swansea, but they were taken away from their families. And life just changed generally very dramatically throughout this time. Things were made a lot more difficult as well in July 1940 when the Nazis occupied France. So the Nazis invaded France, managed to take over, and essentially that meant for a time at least Britain were facing Germany on their own. And Hitler took advantage of this. He started a bombing campaign that basically aimed to bomb Britain into submission. So to bomb it so much that Britain would just give up and give in. Okay, and the key areas that he looked at were basically areas in the UK that were essential to the war effort. So anywhere that had factories, anywhere that had ports, that kind of thing. Now, obviously, the most famous one, the most common one is London. London was definitely the worst hit during the Second World War. In fact, between September the 2nd and November the 2nd, 1940, London was bombed every single night. Okay. Coventry was also hit pretty hard, though. Lots of war production factories in Coventry, so focused the bombing on there as well. Cardiff was also hit. The docks where lots of coal came in and went in and out were hit. Llandaff Cathedral was also hit as well. So lots of other cities bombed during the Second World War as well. Okay. So what actually happened in Swansea? So this is a quote from a firefighter's wife on the Saturday morning, the day after it had finished. Okay, and she said there was only rubble. I couldn't find anyone. The town was flat. Now you can see in this picture here the utter devastation that has been caused. Okay, and what happened was on the nights of Wednesday the 19th, Thursday the 20th, and Friday the 21st of February, Swansea experienced a 3-night blitz, intensive bombing. 896 high explosive bombs employed by the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, a total of 397 casualties, 230 deaths. Swansea had a port and docks where there was lots of coal exported and lots of food imported in as well, which meant it was vital to the war effort, and this is why it was a prime target. Okay, and in the aftermath of it, roads were blocked, sewers were exposed, electric cables were down, gas and water were cut off. There were communal feeding stations, communal water stations because people had lost their homes. And there was just shock and devastation throughout the city. Okay. This is a good picture to show you what actually the town looked like before and after. So this is obviously before. And then this is how this is the aerial picture of the city after. This is how much had been destroyed, as you can see by there. This is Ben Evans' department store. This was a very, very famous department store. People actually came from all over the country to this department store to shop. Almost completely destroyed after the 3 nights blitz. Swansea Market and really old Victorian market. You can see they're completely destroyed, just the structures left. The Kingsway, which is one of the main roads into Swansea, or Gower Street as it was called then, you can see there again that completely destroyed. Lots of homes on this street actually I've read destroyed as well. Okay, so just some pictures for you there so you can see the devastation that this caused. So I want to look a little bit now at how the people dealt with it, at their resilience. Now, John James R. John was in the Swansea Home Guard. He was 58 years old. He was a local Swansea man. He was a journalist as well, and he noted things down in his diary over the 3 nights. But while he was also noting things down in his diary, he was also helping to fight. Now, the Home Guard was basically an army on the home front that a lot of them were either too old or too young to actually fight, or they had some kind of medical affliction, which meant that they couldn't fight, and so they joined the Home Guard instead. The Dad's Army is what they were called. So this is just an extract from his diary. So this is Friday. This is the last one. This is Blitz 3, the last night. 7:45 to 11:30, then lull. Fire and explosive incendiaries mainly. More at back. Took 18 men, girls and boys to tackle it in the roof. Now I want to draw your attention to that. Swansea is being heavily bombed. There is no let up. There's no sign when they don't know if they're coming back the next night. This is still going on, and yet he still manages to get 18 men, girls and boys to go out into the fires, go out into the streets when there's bombs being dropped and tackle it. The bravery and resilience shown by these people are amazing. The heavy gunfire, bomb craters on College Street and Upper High Street. Wednesday's Blitz reprise, so that the same thing happening again on Wednesday, town of shambles. But again, I want to draw your attention to there were still people out fighting. Still people out trying to stop this from happening, despite the fact that there were bombs being dropped on them. This is Saturday. This is the day after it had all happened. Swansea gone. Colossal damage. St Mary Street, Ben Evans, Trinity, Geneva Street, Rutland Street, Heathfield Street, Park Street, Castle Street, Strand, Temple Street, Goat Street, Lower High Street, etc. all perished. Smoking ruins at the market. Upland still with a delayed action bomb. So a delayed action bomb was basically a bomb that they would drop and it wouldn't go off straight away, so that people would think it was a dud and then be surprised when it went off again. Gigantic fire, injured in hospital 260, 25 died. Town like Ypres was actually a battlefield in the First World War, so you can see how the devastation that it's caused. One plane down, poured with rain, people streaming out of the town in thousands. So devastation really, and having to deal with this terrible thing that happened. But I want to draw your attention to his last diary entry here on Sunday, February the 23rd. He says, fine and sunny day, restful, peaceful night. Saw Frank at Langland. So he's obviously relieved and happy that the bombing has stopped, but he's getting on with it. He's gone to see his friend at Langland, and I think that's a key message here. The idea of resilience and keeping calm and that community spirit. And when we remember these people, I think that we need to remember their community spirit and how they dealt with this together, that despite the fact that they were dealing with utter devastation, a lot of their homes had been bombed, the electric cables were down, there was no food and water. They stuck together and they got through it, and they built a new Swansea that we see today. And I think that we need to think about this, and especially when we think about what is happening at the moment with the COVID-19 pandemic. Remember that resilience and community spirit will help us if we stick together. And it's a community spirit that I think we already have in Ponce-de-Leigh Comprehensive School. We've got a brilliant, awesome community spirit in this school. And if we use that and we stick together and we obey by the rules and we stay home where we can and we make sure that we are obeying by the rules, we will get through this together and there'll be better times ahead. Just like Swansea was rebuilt and there were better times ahead of it after this Blitz. Thank you very much.